What a question. Oh dear. The meaning of life. Do you know, I know how to answer that question now. Because one reaches a point where there are no more questions and there's no more search. Now, of course, one doesn't know that at the beginning. Life's full of problems and questions. What's it all about? God knows it was like that for me as a young man, endlessly questioning everything. What's it all for? Much of life is a matter of elimination. You try things and find that's not it, and or doesn't answer you. You eliminate all that doesn't fulfill. And gradually, if fortunate, you find what does bring fulfillment, total fulfillment. No more questions. Home. It must exist because I know it. I know it only too well now. I've read books, of course, and various people try to express it in various ways, but what does it mean? Whatever is the kingdom of God, or any other philosophic term that's used, utter bliss consciousness, absolute, what does it mean, absolute? When you actually experience. The trouble is you can't really experience it because you go beyond experience. You can't talk about it, you can't describe it because it's beyond description. So it's almost impossible to convey. And yet, this morning I was sitting here in meditation. I can't tell you where I was, but I can't describe it at all. All I know is that 2.5 hours passed. Compared to which nothing, but nothing in this world means anything. That's right, you discover what doesn't mean anything, you see. That's the way you find meaning, when you eliminate all that doesn't mean anything in comparison to this. Then you know. It's taken me 80 years. I don't know that one can cozy up to it, not at least at the preliminary stage. It's just something, well, if I talk of my own experience, I'm likely to sort of keep on safe ground, aren't I? Because something indefinable leads you on. The church, and I suppose all philosophies are full of words that lead kindly light amid the encircling gloom. But what is that? There's a kindness. One of the wonderful things about this journey is that there's nothing bad on it, nothing frightening. It's always comforting. It always makes you feel better. That's a sure clue. Almost everything in the world is in some way leads to unhappiness, disappointment, the end of things. As does life itself. It comes to an end. What is mortality? It comes to an end. This has no end. And now in the end of life, in the end of my physical life, I know this has no end. This is home. This is where all things come from, the beginning and the end, the source of all things, and its utter goodness, pure love, freedom, joy unlimited. That's the only witness worth trusting, isn't it? If someone speaks and it rings true, then maybe that's something to follow. Fortunately, we do have some guides. One of my favorite phrases that came to me as a very young man, very boy: "Don't fence me in." I always loved wide open spaces. I felt claustrophobic and confined by too much talk and a lot of company. I didn't like sitting behind drawn curtains and small places. I always felt that was a sure instinct in me. Don't fence me in. Wanting to be free. Of course, I didn't understand then there was also a mental freedom, a freedom from my body, a freedom from my thoughts, but that's how it started. And the other thing is the longing to love and be loved. And most of human love ends in disappointment. That was my experience of it, really. It's not big enough. Perfect love. Does it exist? Who knows, but at least when you experience the imperfect, you still long for more. You always want more. Insatiable. It's like an inner compass within your heart. And again, perhaps you learn by elimination that human love is all too fallible. Love and freedom. I don't think I was one of those that would have given happiness as one of my searches. Not necessarily peace, though a lot of people do seek for peace. I think perhaps that goes together with spaciousness and freedom for me. But love and freedom were two sure guides. And I think a suspicion of what I call the artificial, and a trust in nature. That's important. I don't think we can be holier than we are. It's not real, I think, to grow up too soon and to pretend that you can eliminate the desires either of the flesh or of the mind too soon. Otherwise you just build up more complexes than that. You know, it's easy to, when you're young, you read a book at the world's illusion and you have to overcome your desires. And in years past, people have put on hair shirts and flagellated themselves, done all sorts of things to curb the desires of the flesh and the lusts of the heart. Did it work? I don't know. Anyway, I never did that sort of thing. I think I'd rather trust the naturally growing out, like we grow out of childhood, grow out of youth, grow out of the active phase of life, and eventually just grow out of mortality altogether. Done that. Don't have to go to relief. Especially in old age, because everything about the body is telling me that it's worn out. The mind too is just bored with all this thinking. I joined a school of meditation when I was 27 and attended this school for nearly 20 years and was very, very extremely well taught, for which I've been ever grateful ever since. And one of the early exercises was simply to observe oneself, observe everything. In particular, observe your hands, whatever you're doing, picking something up. I was a farmer in those days. I used to work by hand. And I spent many hours a day, year after year, working alone in the fields just with a simple hand tool, a hoe or something like that. And it was a wonderful exercise just to watch myself and see this sort of mechanical movement, really. With the hoe, just going between the plants precisely, very carefully, working between the plants like that. Now, there's my body, my hand, obviously performing this work. There's the hoe extending into the soil. Am I the hoe? Am I the hand? What is this? It's like the jib of a crane, isn't it? If I press a button, it goes up, it goes down, it goes that way, it goes that way. There's that. Then there's this bit of me, and the muscles. It all works just like a beautiful machine, doesn't it? My feet too. Is that what I am? What am I? Am I the observer? Or am I the machine? When you have a puppet, you do things, it performs actions, doesn't it? Isn't my body much the same? I can make it do all sorts of things. Is that what I am? Now this sort of observation and questioning is very, very useful. If you're interested in the question, what am I? What gives meaning to life? What has more meaning? The observer or the instrument? Which is the more meaningful? There's an old saying, the seer is not the thing that is seen. Now, seer is an old word for a wise man, isn't it? The seer, the one who sees, is not the thing that is seen. Well, it's obvious it's not. How can I be? That hand is a part of my equipment, as it were. But I know that, look at it now, it's an old hand, isn't it? In a few years it'll be dead. Go back to dust. It's really obvious when you look at it in a simple way like that. So, observation leads to elimination, you see, doesn't it? It leads to what is... It's right, my body is very valid, it's a wonderful instrument for my use, but it's not really what I am. That takes a bit more practice. But actually it's not so difficult. If you just observe the movement of your lips and the sounds that come out of listen to your own voice. Again, it's very interesting. It's perfectly possible to listen to your own voice. Listen to your tongue and your lips moving and making these sounds. Listen, if we just listen and then just say a word like horse or cow or sheep, you realize your voice is just another instrument, isn't it? Your words are just, what are they? Just words. The observer is something, as it were, a step backwards. So, there is this sort of primal source of words, and going down, embodiment, words, and before words are thoughts. How do we know I'm thinking? People readily say, oh, I've been thinking. How do they know they've been thinking? Because there is a knower behind the thoughts. Thoughts also are mechanical movement, aren't they? A lot of thinking is mechanical, it's just robotic. We just repeat like a mental gramophone over and over and over these habitual feelings. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, they're all just movements, as it were, within the great consciousness of mind. Another interesting thing is that the observer is always still in comparison to what is observed. Because the observer itself doesn't actually move, does it? consciousness, which really is the observer, I am conscious of, that doesn't change. Now, what is conscious of is changing all the time. So one gradually comes to realize that there are these two aspects of life, that which doesn't change, that which is eternal, and that which comes to pass. Once upon a time it came to pass. Once upon a time there was a man called John Butler who lived and did this and this and that and the other, and reached the age of thinking, there he is, his grave over there. That's his story, isn't it? It came to pass. And the observer? Well, what happened to the observer? It's still observing. You observing me. It's undivided. It's eternal. Well, which am I? The story? Or the one that remains? There is only one. We live in a world of separation, of division, of this and that. But if we follow this I have a slight feeling of getting myself trapped into rather uncomfortable territory at the moment. For me, it's much more meaningful to go up on the hills, just stand up there and just melt into the vastness of space. There's no question there, no doubt. Vision, no more loneliness, just oneness with everything. I suppose that's really where I started from, which I keep going back to. This world of human questioning and thought. I know some people plod that weary road. It never appealed to me very much. And meditation is which I fell in love with when I started over 50 years ago, and I've practiced ever since, is a wonderful way of taking you inwardly to that space that I described. Like meditation means so many different things to different people, doesn't it? Well, the way I was taught to meditate, and I count myself very fortunate in this. If you look at my hands, you see, normally we go through life holding on to ideas like, is meditation the same as mindfulness? Well, what meditation really does is just let go. Because you see, just sitting here and now, if we listen, you may hear the raindrops on the roof, traffic on the road, but actually we're sitting in silence, in stillness. And into this stillness are inserted a question: is mindfulness the same as meditation? But actually that question is asked and thought about in silence, in a greater context of silence, stillness, which doesn't ask any questions at all. It's utterly self-sufficient. Now, one of the great principles of all religions is three. Christianity calls it the Trinity. Father, Son, incarnate, and Spirit energizing. Here now there's always what I call the third point of stillness, in which this seesaw of questioning and answering this or that takes place. And in fact, you can go on this duality, seesaw forever. This may or may not satisfy. It usually doesn't, not completely. But when you find that stillness, you find the wholeness. It's contained within this greater context, like the sky, only infinitely greater and actually within oneself, within one's own consciousness. Now then things begin to add up, and you realize that there is no answer, no ultimate answer in duality, but in unity. One. And that's when problems and questions just begin to fade out and lose their meaning. You can feel it now. All that questioning has come to rest, hasn't it? It's no longer operative, no longer disturbing us, no longer, oh my God, what do I say? One can just rest in being oneself, one undivided self. And that's what meditation helps you discover, or help me discover. Marvelous how thy works, O Lord. Indeed. That is the scale of man. That indeed is a great discovery. We have little idea, really, of the greatness of man. This word, I am, is one of the most significant of all. It's amazing how we say, I am. It gets down to a selfish little whim called me. Yet I am is also, when God was asked his name by Moses, he described himself, I am that I am. When Jesus was asked where he came from before Abraham was, I am. Everybody says, I am. Here now, I am Phil, I am John, but I am is the same, isn't it? I am is that primal consciousness or spirit. Be still and know that I am God. When we say be still, it implies that we let go all this I am this and that, all the I am thinking, I am feeling, all the like the skins of an onion that we add on to this basic I am. Sometimes you just look into somebody's eyes and you just see that pure I am. Pure love, isn't it? Pure being. Before you start adding things onto it. Now that is the divine in every man, in every creature. Oneself, the God in everything. Eternal, unchanging, pure being, pure consciousness. You cannot describe it, and yet it's obvious. Eyes are the window of the soul. The soul is that spark, if you like, of that divine fire that inhabits everybody, every animal, every creature, it's in everything. Every blade of grass, every flower. There's nothing that is not that God. God is everything. Everything is God. Everything is a vast emanation of God, like an out-breath of the divine creative principle, I am. And that's why ultimately in home is found by not being anything, not knowing anything. You come back to just that. What was there before description, before creation? Rest. Come unto me, says Jesus, and rest. And that rest is full of all the potential that we experience manifested in the world. The fullness of all creation brought back back to its source is what I am. And then you no longer search for meaning because I am.